Hello, everyone. Welcome, and thank you so much for coming to today's HR workshop. My name is Victoria, and I work for Factorial, which is an all in one HR software company offering digital solutions to HR professionals all around the world, making their lives easier. Today, I'm very excited to have with us Tia Castagno, founder and CEO of UnlockYourBlock. She will be discussing the topic attracting diverse talent with skill based recruitment. Those of you who registered for the event probably already know that as the dynamics of the job market evolve and businesses strive to stay competitive in a rapidly changing world, there is a growing realization that skill based recruitment is not only the future, but also the present. For that reason, we have Tia with us today, who, apart from being the founder and CEO of Unlock Your Block and a strong female leader helping mid career women make bold career changes, he is also a career coach and leadership consultant, keynote speaker, helping employers future proof their companies for growth. Before we start, I'd just like to invite you to tell us in the chat where you're tuning in from, and also feel free to ask your questions throughout the event. I will write them down and we will answer them in the Q&A section in the end. I also like to invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can follow our future live events. Hello, Tia. Thank you so much for joining today, and you can take over from here.
Thanks, Victoria. I'm very happy to be here this afternoon. Hopefully, people are away from big heat right now. We were just talking about that a moment ago. If not, grab yourself some water, make sure that you are hydrated and ready to listen to this, but also ask questions as well. So we left time at the end, and it would be great to have a conversation about this topic, which is very close to my heart, mainly as Victoria, if we can start sharing,
Yes,
and
but
I go straight into it.
just before we start, I will also leave here like a QR code for those who are tuning in now. You can just scan it and you can get the free skill metrics that we did for you for this event. And here is the presentation for you.
Right, great. And welcome to those people. I see one from Portugal, where I am right now. So, hello, neighbor. So, this is a topic very close to my heart, and I'm going to present it in a couple of ways that I hoping will be very useful to people that are joining today. Because yes, you might be recruiting people, but you're also someone that might be looking for new opportunities soon. So I want you to see it also from your own personal perspective and from a human perspective as to what is right to do. And those are the different perspectives I'll give. So as I mentioned, as you know, Victoria's introduced me, so I won't talk too much about it. But what I want to say throughout, and I will pick on this as we go, is that what you're going to be seeing today is actually the methodology that helped me change my complete career from my corporate job that was as the MD of iProspect, as part of Dentsu, as my last corporate job, and move into working for myself and starting my own business. So it's a methodology that has been tested and also will show you why I truly believe that this is the future and the way we should be looking at talent, really. So first of all, when we use a skill-based approach to recruitment, we are helping people to do what gives them joy. And this is, if this the one reason why we should be doing it, this is the reason, because we want people to be joyous when they come to work. And if they're not, it means that they will not be doing a great job for the company. And so the company profitability will be impacted, even if you might not see that, that straight direct correlation. So helping people to do what gives them joy equals profitable businesses. So that's like the core fundamental reason why I think skill-based recruitment is the future and should be the present. Also, if we look at where we come from, education is not reflective of interests. And if you have an example of this, feel free to put it in the chat. But for example, I went I did a communication studies degree, then I did a master's in advertising and marketing. And to be honest, that does not reflect my interest. So even though I worked in that sector for nearly 2 decades, I would never class it as, oh, this is my top interest. Because when we're making those decisions about education, we're still very young, right? So we end up spending 5, sometimes 10 years educating ourselves in something that will become an obsolete interest for us in the future. So we need to take that into account, because if people are not interested in what they are doing, that will impact how many sick days they take, how much effort they put in productivity, so on and so forth. The other thing is that, when we recruit in the normal fashion, job titles become cages for people, and people get stuck into defining themselves just like under the label of a job title. And I'm sure that if you think about it from your perspective, you know how that rings true. If you've been an HR manager, if you've been a talent manager, if you've been a learning and development manager, you get labeled with that job title, and it's then very difficult to start going in different direction. And it's not right that we kind of cage people in this confinement of a job title, because people are much more than that, and we'll talk a bit more to that as well. And there's lots of studies that have been done that soon we all change jobs every 4 years. So this will become the norm. Every 4 years, we'll reinvent ourselves. So, of course, we want to prepare for that. And when we recruit, the more we stop looking at job titles and experience that people have, and the more we prepare for this world where we will be changing job every 4 years, the more we will be at the forefront of that change happening and ready to snap up the best talent that is there on the market. And the other point on this is that actually that some of the keys already now, the key skills that are needed, and if we think about AI, as we have to mention it, they don't exist in the market yet, or definitely not in the quantity that we need them to exist in. So if they don't exist, it means that we have to train talent. We have to train talent up. And if we have to train talent, we might as well give opportunities to people based on other things other than their job titles, but things in the attitude and motivation that they show, but also the skill sets that could be transferable and that show us that that person has the qualities to learn quickly and take on the new skills that we need them to take on. So skill-based recruitment not only addresses all these points that I've just made, but also moves the human race from I must work to I love work. And this is where we have the opportunity to move the world of work to. It also drastically reduces the privilege bias. So it could be the privilege of education, which many of us have, but not everyone. And because if you base it on skills and how people have learned skills in the past, then it takes away that bias of education. But it also creates a dynamic, diverse, and really engaged workforce, because as I said, people come to do things that they really love doing. They put that engagement and passion in, and that shows on the business, bottom line, because it makes your business grow. Now, how do we go? First of all, it's not just in the recruitment that we need to show this mindset, but it's also doing it internally. So I would argue that we should start running this new way of thinking internally at the companies that we already work for the talent that we already have, as well as starting to take this approach out externally to recruitment. And what I use as a methodology that some businesses have adopted is what I call the career pyramid. And I will talk you through it, and I'll show you how I think this then leads to really focusing on a solid skill-based recruitment approach. So when this is done properly, this career pyramid, it can be used as a compass to navigate careers and choices internally, but also, when we are in the recruitment process. And it is based on Maslow's hierarchy of needs. And then, as I said, once you've done this internally and helped people navigate careers and maybe change departments internally, and go from one place to the other, from one type of job to another, then that can be also rolled out very easily to recruitment. So that career pyramid looks like this, and if you know, if you're familiar with Maslow hierarchy of needs, you will see that resonating, right? So ideally, people should be, when they think about their career overall, their career should answer to all of these buckets. It should give them the environment that they want. So, you know, whether it's working from an office, working from home, having airy space around, having, you know, being in a vibrant town, or being, you know, somewhere more quiet. The money that they need, the security, the safety that they need. So the safety in the Maslow hierarchy of needs. It should make them work with the type of people that they can thrive around, so that they can build that sense of belonging. And then the two most important parts of the pyramid are the ones linked to esteem, you know, self-esteem. So how we build our self-esteem, which is doing something that we're interested in, so that we're literally interested in, because a job shouldn't be something that we just go and do to earn money. And so that increases our self-esteem as humans. And also utilizing our favorite skills that we have built across everything that we've done, not just work, also education and different, also from life. And then, of course, that will take us to realizing our purpose in this world, which is really dedicating our life to something that we truly love doing, utilizing the skills that we love utilizing. So why, and I'm going to focus now especially on interests and skills, because we talk a lot about skills, but not enough about interests, and those two things go hand in hand. So whether candidates are internal or external, they might have built official experience in any area, and normally these are the type of people that we recruit for jobs. But actually their deep interest in, maybe there are other people that have built interest in those same areas, that tend to be more knowledgeable and dedicated than people that have 10 years experience in an area, just because they're much more interested in the subject. So it could be that you have a sales director, let's say, that has no interest whatsoever in sales, but they have the experience, and we keep, you know, that person in that role because that's what they've done all their life. And there may be someone else that maybe has never been in an official role of sales director, but loves the idea of sales, and is defined by friends and family as a great, you know, salesperson, because they built that skill set, and we are discounting that in the favor of the other one. And the same applies to, you know, maybe an area of education or meditation and mental well-being, or maybe climate change and environment, which, you know, a few people now make that transition internally because it becomes a big area of interest. So this is like one key aspect, really understanding what people are interested in, because that will be a key driver of their success in a role. And then looking at where those interests could come from. It could be, yes, from previous jobs, but it could be also from outside work, from fields that are of interest to us. I have someone that I worked with quite closely, you know, in my first job, and then also coached there, that loves history. And she knows about history more than a history teacher. But her skill will probably not be counted in an environment where she would try and be getting a job in a history relevant context. And that's what we're trying to eliminate, because her knowledge is just as valuable as someone that has, you know, earned a degree in it and maybe has practiced it for many years. And then what we want to be looking at, and this is a way that I find very useful to plot interests, and the way I plot my own interests is love. Am I an expert in it? And how much do I love something? Because people can be the biggest expert in something, but if they don't truly love it, they are never going to perform to the best of their potential. So this will tell you, actually, maybe someone that really, really loves something, but it might not be expert based on the hours that they've spent, you know, in an official job, might be performing much better than someone else that is an expert but doesn't love what they're doing. And so this plotting is a really interesting way of understanding the potential that someone has to really perform well in a role, not based on their expertise, or at least not only, but also on how much they love the interest that they will be working in. And then coming on to skills that are directly linked to this interest area, how do we apply these core skills to our interests? So, and this is also very useful, as I said, for you that might be thinking about your career and how you could diversify your career in the future. Most of us already have a set of skills to be able to start a new career in a new field. Full stop. We already have some sort of skills that we can utilize to move in a completely new career. We don't have to earn less because we are starting something new. So this is important because very often in the recruitment process, if we're giving someone a chance, we expect them to take less money because it's something new. But that is not right, because we then discounting the love, the interest, the passion that the person is going to bring, and the potential that the person has. And we only put the money on the experience and the job title that they have. And that is not right. And we need to balance that. So skills, as opposed to interests, they are expressed as a verb, and I know most of you will know this. So designing is a skill, interior design is a field, and is an important differentiation to make. And all of us should claim the highest level on the skill chain based on the performance that we've shown, not on the job title. So for example, someone might have a job title of manager, but in their best performances, they've been directing projects. Then they can claim directing as the skill, the highest skill, even though their job, their title is manager. And this is really important when we interview people, because the higher, someone goes on that, the more flexibility that they will find. And of course, we also incentivize them to do even better for us. So options and doors will open exponentially for us once the more awareness we have of the skills that we have built. And this is different from traits and soft skills, which I will also touch on. So this refers specifically to core transferable skills, and you can use for skills based, there's only, you can use a simplistic model like data skills, people skills, or things, which this was one of the first models that was introduced, and I built many models on top of this. So like I continued developing it, and my one looks something like this at the moment, where I've built on those 3 buckets to create something that is much more relevant to today's worker world. But you will find many out there in terms of skills models to utilize in the recruitment process. And when we're teasing core skills when interviewing, we want to be asking questions about battle horses. So the exciting performances that people had, where they really went all in and where they truly enjoyed what they did, and asking people about what they were trying to achieve, the challenges. So the usual, case study, but not from, just like, tell me a moment when you did this, but more from the performances that someone enjoyed most, where they felt that they had the highest contribution to that project, but they truly enjoyed what they did. Because we'll then get a clear understanding of, yes, they have this skill, but how much do they love utilizing this skill, which will then be a variable in how well they will perform on that subject. And paying attention to the nuances of the words that people use to define themselves, as well as their skills, which are, the soft traits. So, for instance, they are more used as an adjective or an adverb, and I'll give you an example of some differences that you might find, and they help us be much more specific about core skills. So, for example, you could be saying, if someone is creative and has creativity as a transferable skills that they have, that could be defined as designing creatively, or designing clothing, or designing a framework. And those are different ways of expressing creativity that someone can have. They are more defined with soft skills that then go and embellish a core skill, such as creativity, that someone has. Because it's very different if someone designs a framework or if someone designs clothing. They both involve creativity, but they are in very different fields and areas of interest. So just to end on this, and we have good plenty of time for questions. So we were planning to leave 10 minutes, and we'll have just about that. This just to show you what my pyramid, for instance, look when it's complete. Now, when I was telling you that, for instance, when I changed my profession, I put together this system to help myself get through that transition. This is my very own pyramid, and I call it what gives you joy. And if you see the intersection of skills and interests, so mentoring with compassion, speaking and teaching passionately, those were transferable skills that I felt I had and I wanted to utilize, that are not really necessarily linked to advertising and marketing that I was working in. And then my interest areas were entrepreneurship, career development, gender equity, personal growth and spirituality, and energy management. And I combined those two to reinvent myself, doing something in an area that I truly loved and utilizing transferable skills that allowed me to really get into the field that I wanted to get into without having to take a pay cut, in the process. So that is it. And the invite, can everyone still hear me? Because my picture is frozen. I just want to make sure, just nod to Victoria so that I know that.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes, I
perfect.
hear you.
Okay.
It's
My
okay.
picture is frozen. Hopefully, it's not frozen for you. So the final invitation is for everyone, so you to do it for yourself, but also in your roles internally, as well as in recruitment, focusing on the idea that an ideal career should tick most of our pyramid requirements, and that the what of what we do comes from the intersection of our skills and interests, just like the example that I just showed you now. And that is it. We have time for questions now, so keep them coming.
Yes, thank you so much, Tia, for this lovely presentation. I really enjoyed it. So now everyone who has questions, you can start asking on in the chat. I noticed that we had some issues with the LinkedIn live event, but don't worry. For those of you who register on the link or you scan the QR code and register for the skill metrics, you will get the recording in your inbox in your email. So don't worry about it. If you can't ask the questions now, you can always reach out to me or Tia afterwards and we can help you out with any questions that you might have. In the meantime, I have some questions here ready for you. So I will start and then on the chat we can continue as well. So I will just turn off the presentation and now I can ask you the questions. So I have one question here. I really like the career pyramid. How can I create one for my own usage? Do you have a template you can share?
So, I mean, from what you saw, you can easily create it. It's a proprietary tool that I've put and is part of a product that I have. So I can't share it just because people have paid for it in terms of what goes behind it. But if you message me on LinkedIn, I will direct you to a way to kind of easily recreate it yourself. And then, I will give you a link to the actual, full done thing, but I will also give you directions to just recreate it yourself.
Yes, or maybe here's an idea. We can create one and have it on Factorial's website, which will be like a collaboration between me and Tia, and we can share it
Sure.
as a template. Nice. Okay, thank you. Now moving to the next one. It says, I want to change my career. How do I prepare for this type of skill-based hiring?
Yes. So I know that we breezed through this, but the main part is what you saw on doing an analysis of your what I called your best performances from the past, where you truly got to a result and you used your favorite skills. So, like in those projects, you really felt that you truly enjoyed yourself, and then using a skill list, a skill transferable skill list that you can find online easily to see which transferable skills are most recurrent in those case studies. Because when you want to go for something that is very different from what you do now, basically you want to be showing that you already have those skills And also you want to have the case studies that you can talk through in the interview moment. So that's going to be the most important part, to be able to talk about full-blown case studies of what was the issue, how you solved it, what you did as part of it, the results that you got. And those case studies should or highlight the skills that are needed in the job that you're going for. And again, following the pyramid that I just talked through, that is my approach to career change, basically. And I know that it was only a very brief presentation, but if you want to know more about that, just message me, and I'll try and share as much as with you as possible.
Okay, thank you so much about this. Now we have another one. How can I easily identify recurring patterns when interviewing? Okay, so from the interviewer side.
Yes. So if we ask about the case studies, so like just I shown where you've shown the best performance, we ask about case studies, I guess, in different ways. So we get, I would say, at least 3 in the interview process where someone tells us something that they did. I think the biggest clue is the excitement in someone face. Like you can see how people light up when they talk about something that they really loved doing, and that they learned something that they want to utilize as a skill to move forward. And also we need to tease them out of the people. So the recurring patterns, you need to spot them, but also the person that actually is going for the job. Like, what is the skill that they see that they've utilized in their biggest case studies that they took through, that they want to continue using in a potential career. So by really focusing on those like battle horses, how I defined it, you can really tease out both the energetics of the person as well as what's in their mind. When they think about something that they would love doing, what is that kind of recurring skill that they talk about throughout those case studies.
Thank you so much, Tia, once more. And then we have something about upskilling. Is upskilling a good way to avoid recruiting new talent and focus on implementing skill trainings?
Yes and no. Yes, in the sense that people should have that opportunity. Like, that should be a no-brainer, right? That internally we open up opportunities for people to upskill. What I see very often, though, is that it becomes forced. And so we lose what I talked about, which is the interest part. So, now everyone is talking about AI, so everyone needs to be upskilled in AI. And maybe that is true, right? It's a skill that most talented special sectors need to have. But for things that are a bit more specific, there needs to be an element of choice. Unless it's really fundamental to do that job. But we need to allow people to say, okay, what would you sign yourself up to be upskilled? And then in that case, absolutely, you can avoid recruiting, and you can focus on growing the people that you have by giving them new skills, but new skills that they really want to learn and they're really interested in. So there needs to be this kind of match between what you want to upskill them in and letting them choose to go for one or the other thing.
Okay, thank you so much. Moving on to the next question. Can you share some tips and tricks on how to adapt my recruitment strategy to this practice?
Yes. So the pyramid, in a way, can be used as something that you keep in the background to ask questions. Right. So, for instance, like, you have the bottom, which is about environment. Of course, the money side, you're going to be asking about what people, what their expectations are, what they think they should be earning, but also what are other things that, would make them happy from a remuneration perspective that is not financial as such. Environment, again, you can ask questions around how do they what environment do they need to thrive most, and they will give answers on those. And then more specifically, which I guess that's your question is aimed at, around interests and skills, If you are recruiting someone that is coming from a very different industry, for instance, and they, on paper, it feels like very, like you're asking the question of how could they know about the industry that they want to get into. That's where you ask all those questions around how have they developed an interest in that specific interest, industry or subject, or let them tell you where the interest comes from. So for instance, like the example that I gave you of this woman that I've coached in the past that is super interested in history, asking questions about where their interest came, how does she cultivate it, does she do anything specifically on it, has she done any like separate non-official training to upskill herself. Those are the type of questions you want to ask. And then when it comes to the skills side, just like I said maybe in the last part of the presentation and just now, asking questions around their battle horses, asking them questions, less of the obvious questions and many more questions about their favorite projects that they worked on, and at least 3 to 5 where they can talk about the things that they did in a certain area where they've shown a specific skill that you want in that job, but that also lights their face when they talk about it. So those are the kind of two key areas I will focus on in a recruitment setting: the interest part as well as the case studies to talk through the skills.
Okay, thank you so much. And we are running out of time. We already passed 30 minutes, but I have one more question of several that I have here. I have to just ask this because it's a very interesting one. It
Sure.
says, can I save money and time if I implement the skill-based recruitment strategy?
Can you save money and time?
Yes.
Yes, you can save a hell of a lot of money and time, and I'll tell you how. Um, when you recruit people that love what they're doing, first of all, you're going to have less issues of people leaving. And also when you give someone that opportunity to do something that they truly love, even though they haven't got an official degree in it, you will have less issues with, again, turnover, like people leaving you and you having to start recruitment again. So that saves you money and time in one go. And also, as we were saying, like using this approach internally as well, make sure that you really grow your people so that you have to rely on recruitment less.
I know. I mean, this was like an obvious question. I mean, obvious answer for the question, because of course, this is why we're doing the webinar in the first place, so that we can educate people on how to save money and time and how to, ease their lives even more than before. So, yeah, we have to come to an end. Now I have more questions, but anyone else that has questions can freely like contact me or Tia directly. Also, that she can help you with the pyramid as well for creating it. So thank you so much, Tia, once more for this wonderful HR workshop and for your responses to all of the questions that we had. I really enjoyed the discussion, and thank you to everyone who attended the live
Yes,
event.
thank you. Thank you. And please, connect on LinkedIn and do get in touch. I'd love to
Yes.
hear from you.
Of course, we always urge people to do this so that they can stay in touch with us and we can help them even more. So, thanks to everyone who attended the live event. In the following days, I'll send you all the resources to this event via email. So, just remember, once you register on the link, you will get everything in your email and you can watch the recording in case there were some issues with LinkedIn today. If not, you can go to our YouTube channel. I think that the streaming there was totally fine, so you can watch it there as well. And for more HR events, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and stay on top of all current trends. And of course, last but not least, don't hesitate to add me and Tia on LinkedIn so that we can talk more about this topic. Thank you, Tia, so much again, and hope to have you once more in our HR workshops.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.